I'm going to share my top 5 tips that will make any long distance hike more comfortable, safer, and simply more enjoyable adventure. Welcome back. So, I've been doing long distance hikes for a few years now, and along the way, I have learned a lot, and many things have changed. For example, when it comes to my gears and overall approach to hiking. So, I'm going to share 5 tips that I think are very important when it comes to multi day hikes. Tip number 1: invest in boots and backpack. When you're hiking many days in a row, you kind of want to feel comfortable. And for me, good boots and good backpack are a big factor whether I feel comfortable or not. By investing, I don't necessarily mean that you need to invest a lot of money on these gears, but also it kind of means that you need to invest some time to research kind of what sort of gear is good for you, what things are good for your needs and your body type. For example, for me, it's very important that my feet are always dry. So I like to invest on Gore-Tex boots. The problem with Gore-Tex, however, is that they're not so breathable. So for some people, that could be a major issue. For example, my partner Giulio, he sweats a lot, so he needs gear that is very breathable. And I think if you really have a problem with sweaty feet, not even a good sock would save you. And also, I would say that even if you do invest a lot of money on a fancy boots, I would say that they would be worthless if you're not wearing the right sock. So if you would wear just a normal sock with the boots, I think you might have problems. And the backpack. So when you are on a long distance hike, you might be carrying a lot of gear, food, tents, all of that stuff. So the backpack might be quite heavy. So I think it's very important that the backpack is also comfortable. When you are shopping for a backpack, that you try them on just to see like how the straps feel, how the padding feels, like if it's really good for your own body type. So I would say that first you need to invest some time to research what sort of boots and a backpack you need, and then you can invest the money on it. Tip number 2, optimize navigation. So nowadays, you don't really need to rely on a map and a compass anymore. There are a lot of ways how you can navigate yourself in the mountains. There are a lot of apps that you can just download on your phone, and these apps, they work even though you don't have any cell service. Some of these map apps would be Maps.me, All Trails, Organic Map, and Gaia GPS. For me, I've been using Maps.me for years now. Ever since I discovered this downloadable maps, Maps.me was the first one, and I've been using ever since. Another great thing about these apps is that you can download a GPX file on it. So the GPX file is basically the trail that you're going to do. So before heading out, you should try to find the trail you're going to do as a GPX file, and then you download it on the phone, and then you can keep looking if you are on the right track. And even though these apps are very good for navigation, you should not rely on them 100%. So always carry a real map with you, and you should know how to read it. If you have never read a map before, it could be quite confusing and overwhelming in the beginning. However, I think it's important that you just start trying. And what I used to do when I was preparing for a long distance hike is that I would highlight the routes on the map. So I already study beforehand the routes, how it's going to look like, and then I would highlight it on the map. And what really helped me to get better at understanding the map is that when I'm out there doing a hike, I would always examine the route and the map. So when I would finish a day, let's say the stage 1, when I'm at the mountain hut, then I would read the map again and go through the stage 1 on the map. So then it helps to kind of understand, like, okay, here there was a climb and that's how the climb looks like on the map. Or, okay, there was a valley and here's the valley on the map. So examining the routes on the map afterwards is super helpful when you're still like trying to learn how to read the map. And lastly, I would say that you should learn the way markings in the nature. So when it's official trail, there are a lot of signs and markings that help you to navigate. For example, there are the signposts. Those are the most obvious ones, and they have a lot of information. They can show you the distance or the time. and also the mountain passes or the mountain huts where you're going. So they give a lot of information, and so those are super helpful. And another thing would be the paints. So depending on the trail, there are different meanings, different colors. So you kind of also need to check that beforehand, like, okay, what trail are you doing? Which paint colors you should follow. And then the most subtle way marking would be these piles of rocks. And those are nothing official. So those are just what other hikers do to help others to kind of navigate. In the beginning, it can be a bit hard to, see all the signs. But if you know where to look, you can see a lot of signs in the nature and in the mountains. But the more you hike, the more you're out there, you're going to pay attention. And also, kind of where to look, where they usually put the signs, or where do they use the paint. So that sort of thing, you just need to go out there and kind of get used to it. Tip number 3, collecting water. There are different strategies on how to collect water, and most importantly, how to collect clean water while you are hiking in the mountains. I used to carry these pills that purify the water. So those are one option. Nowadays, I think it's more common to use these filter bottles. Also, actually Julio gave me as a gift this Be Free filter bottle a few years ago. And again, I've been using it ever since. So I think it's 3 years now. But so far, I never got sick from drinking water, even though we collect the water from the rivers or the lakes even. So these filter bottles have been working perfectly. Usually the safest place to collect water is from a flowing source. However, if you see that there are a lot of animals around, like cows or just mountain animals, then you might want to go or try to go a bit more upstream, just to kind of avoid that there wouldn't be any, cow poop on the water, And also, when you are climbing over a mountain pass, you should always refill your bottles before that, or at least make sure that you have enough water. So when you're climbing up a mountain pass, most likely you're not going to find a water source anywhere up there. Then there are these water fountains that are very common in many places in Europe. And those are very safe places to collect water. Usually they're made out of this wood, and then there's a little hose on it. So those would be also very safe places to drink, even without a filter. I've done that a lot. Yeah. Tip number 4 is do your research. Before hitting the trail, it's really important that you kind of research the area where you're going to go and what sort of possibilities there are. For example, if there are supermarkets where you can restock, or if there are a lot of water sources along the trail. So this way you can really avoid carrying a super heavy backpack. For example, when I did my first ever long distance hike, which was Tour du Mont Blanc, I carried all of my food with me from the beginning, just because I didn't know that there are places where you can restock. There are supermarkets, you're going to go through a lot of mountain huts and some villages where they have some restaurants and cafes. So there are a lot of places where you can restock for food and where you can buy some food or meals, But I didn't know that. I didn't do a proper research. So that's why I carried a lot of food on my backpack, and it was just unnecessary, And also, there's no point of carrying 3 liters of water with you if there are a lot of places where you can refill your bottles. So you can really save some kilos on your backpack if you prepare and research properly. And tip number 5. Hiking poles. This could be quite obvious to many of you, but for me it's very important. Okay. The hiking poles, they are there mostly to kind of help you with the weight of the backpack. So when you're climbing up a mountain or descending a mountain, it really helps you with the weight of the backpack. And also, if the terrain is very rocky and it's a high mountain terrain, it really helps you to stabilize yourself as well. I hope you found some of these tips useful, and if you have any questions, let me know, and don't forget to subscribe.